The next one's from Adge Graucut. And the subject is AEW, the new WCW.
Wait a minute. What was that name again?
Adge?
This is the most bizarre name. His name is spelled ADGE. Adge.
Right.
Is his first name.
Aged or Ag?
And his last name is Graucut.
That doesn't sound like a real name.
You know what it sounds like a what Christmas thing was it? They had the guy named Cobble. Oh no, the Penguin.
The Penguin was Oswald
What's
Cobblepot.
Oswald Cobblepot. That sounds like this.
But I just that rang a bell to me, so I looked him up on Twitter real quick, and he's a real person. So there is an Adge Graucut. Yes, there is.
Yeah, the parents really
fucked him on board. Yeah, he already had a last name that's kind of like what, and then they gave him some first name nobody's ever heard of or ever had. Before, but go ahead.
Hi K100 crew. I was wondering with the new team. You know what I was thinking the other day? I want to go on a little sidebar here.
Yeah.
What if because kids these days. You're not allowed to spank your kids. What do they call that? Capital punishment or something? Corporal punishment? What do they call that?
No, I don't know.
Do you know the term? Like if you spank your kids,
discipline? No.
What's the term? These corporal punishment or something like that? Or
spanking is considered. Let me see.
Whatever. I was just thinking about this. What if little kids grow up knowing that the parents can't spank them,
right?
And to shut their parents down when the parents are arguing, they start
corporal punishment.
Huh. They do the what chant every time the parents are try to discipline them. Do you imagine if parents were yelling at you? You would go back, yell back to them, what? You son of a thing, get your room. What? Okay, so I was just thinking about that. That's weird. Okay, I was wondering what the new TV deal for AEW and adding an extra show. Is this just like back in the day when adding Thunder was?
Can I read you something real quick? Because I looked up the spanking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this guy, he's some therapist. He goes, many years ago, during one of my first college classes I've ever taught, I asked my students to raise their hands if they were spanked as children. I was quite new to America at the time, and we knew little about the lives of American families. In Israel, where I grew up, spanking children was practically unheard of. My own parents had never so much as raised their voices at me, except that for that one time when I called my mother a whore, not knowing the meaning of the word, but realizing it was forbidden. She slapped me and then proceeded to apologize tearfully. What's more, growing up in Israel in the 60s and 70s, we got our ideas about America from music and movies and the young volunteers who showed up after the 6 Days War to help the then fashionable Israeli cause. Okay, so anyways, he says that he's taken the same spanking pole ever since then in every development class I've ever taught. The results by my eyeball test have not changed much. And official data back up this conclusion. Most Americans hit their little children, and most believe they are doing something both effective and right, but they are wrong. The scientific case against spanking is one of those rare occasions in which, over a span of 15 years or so, a scientific controversy actually gets resolved. I don't want to read too much more.
Well, here's the only problem with that. Okay, is that all you're doing is you're giving data on whether or not people that getting spanked is effective or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like the gun debate. We're only talking about when we do gun statistics, you always talk about deaths. You never talk about what about lives saved when there wasn't a death because of it. Just like so. I'm seeing here is how do you compare if spank your kid is wrong or not? You have to take a whole giant sample size. But the thing is, I've noticed is that as society is waned away from spanking, kids are growing up with less stress management skills.
Yep.
It's and then that's basically spanking you as a young age, which was a precursor for just learning stress management. Physical pain is something you're going to have to manage throughout your career. So, at the very first, think about this: if you never experienced physical pain, okay, as opposed to a kid that was spanked growing up to taught okay, this hurts, yes, so cry. Okay, now I know I go to where I'm not going to cry. But then you're sending out people in the world with no stress management skills, and they're getting physically or mentally hurt for the first time, and they have no other prior experience of how to deal with it.
Bro, let me
subconsciously, and it's so that's kind of what we see a lot.
Okay, let me just tell you this. This was in Psychology Today, and it's a long fucking thing, but at the end, he says these three things, and I disagree with all three. It says that here are the three main problems about spanking. He goes, short-term solutions often become long-term problems. He goes, short-term solutions are not what we should aim for in parenting children, particularly if they beget long-term problems. Bro, let me tell you, once I got spanked, I wasn't doing that shit again. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's like at that level of cognizant ability, your mental capacity is very, very, very limited because you're a baby. It's just like you spank. Some people spank their animals.
Okay,
it's called Pavlov's dogs. That's how they were taught. Just you give a response when they do something, like a negative response, and try to get them not to do it.
So let me tell you the second one, which again I say is not true. It says children are most often spanked for extreme out-of-line behaviors from which they would regress back to normal even without spanking. No, that is not true either. Once you got spanked, you didn't do it again, or you got spanked again, and I doubt you were going to do it again.
You figured it out.
Right.
It's like, right. That's pretty simple.
Okay, and then the third one, here's a third one. It says, by spanking a kid, she is most likely has learned how to hide or lie about it better.
That's one of the reasons?
That you shouldn't spank them.
Yeah, because they'll lie to avoid the spanking. But here's the thing: my wife and I don't have kids. Most of my friends do, so I don't really have the experience. But I would say, say if I was a kid and my dad caught me playing with matches, right, and I lit something on fire and whatever, then you get a spanking, and okay, now I don't play with matches. What do you do with a kid today that does something like that's dangerous, doesn't know any better? Oh, play with matches or whatever,
and isn't readily able to understand your verbal communication.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
here's the thing, bro. This is kind of funny, and it might be cultural, because I still see a lot of Latinos and black parents hitting their kids, but they do it around us because they know we're not going to say shit.
Yeah, you'll see it in the stores and stuff like that sometimes, for sure.
All right, the next one is okay. So here's get back to the email. That was a sidebar. I was wondering with the new TV deal for AEW and add an extra show. Is this just like back in the day when adding Thunder was a big mistake for WCW? Are AEW trying to run before they can walk? I also have what I think is a great analogy for disco. Okay, so cue the kazoo.
All right.
Because this guy is a precursor in this. It's a great analogy.
Right.
Are AEW neckbeard fans the equivalent of the Cleveland Browns fans preseason? And is Baker Mayfield in on this? Giving it the big one, how great they are before they even really got going, yet being equally as insufferable and annoying. I refuse to watch AEW purely because of the moronic fans and their shit chanting. I will say this: it's not a bad analogy, but it's not a great analogy. Okay, love the show, listen all the time. Thanks for the content of Patreon. Keep up the amazing work, Cody, and the superior one, and the world's best podcast producer, JoJo.
That's very nice.
Adge from Telford, UK. But he's a $25 tier subscriber.
Okay, well, still Joe gets kazooed. Go ahead.
The kazoo is for Joe, not for Adge.
Right.
All right.
Keep subscribing.
Yes. Let me put things in perspective, because nobody talked about this,
right?
Okay, except for me, because I researched it. I want to research it. It's very simple to research. Okay, all these people and all the fake experts and everybody and their mother went on talking about the AEW deal. All right, so the first thing I did when I saw the AEW deal, I'm like, $45 million. I'm like, all right, I guess that'll cover their production costs for a season. Okay, basically, because I think it's like $800K an episode is what it cost. I heard for whatever it was, but I remember WCW is almost like $800,000-900,000 is what production costs were for an episode of Nitro, right? So the deal was for 4 years, $175, $45 a year, basically. Then I'm looking, WWE is getting $265 from USA and $200 from Fox a year, like literally 10 times the amount,
right,
of AEW. Okay. Then I went and looked. This is to me, this is the most telling and fascinating number, and it kind of just led me to believe how the TV networks treat the wrestling companies at like we look at the TV networks as they're the money marks. I wonder if the TV networks are looking at the wrestling people that they're dealing with and look at them as marks. Do you know how much the NBA, okay, in a 6-month season pays ESPN and TNT? I think ESPN airs 100 games and TNT airs 60. 160 games. Okay, roughly combined would be WWE, WWF would be Raw, SmackDown, and AEW. 3 weeks of shows, 100. That's what's the equivalent of, right? Take a wild guess how much they get. The NBA gets from ESPN TNT
For 1 year?
Or how much the just take a wild guess.
For what? 1 year?
Yeah, for 1 year. $2.7 billion. Okay? Bro, their average viewership per game is 1.3 million people. It's down 15%.
Yeah, and that's not
than it was last year.
That's not.
But I'm wondering if they probably charge a lot more higher ad money for their commercials
probably.
or something, because they've got to be making money somewhere on this.
Because this is the questions that need to be asked and why this is. Raw gets 2 million people still. SmackDown gets 2.5 million. AEW's getting 900,000. Basketball's getting 1.3 million. Why is basketball getting like 5 times as much as professional wrestling?
And,
it's like literally
like
that's like what they're getting. That's like I'm going like why is that?
Right.
What do these networks view when they see this wrestling audience that's watching the show as opposed to the audience that's watching the NBA?
Because I think maybe they know that, for example, I'll give you an example. Just as they're thinking, all right, maybe NBA, viewers, maybe they're a little bit more affluent. Maybe I can put a Mercedes-Benz commercial and they might buy Mercedes-Benz. Wrestling fans aren't buying Mercedes-Benz, so I can charge more money from Mercedes to have, more expensive ads. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we're getting, Slim Jim shit and fucking whatever the wrestling.
But think about that. There's literally
bro,
more
the same
viewers.
thing, bro. We had this conversation back in the time of WCW when we were fucking outdrawing the Atlanta Braves and the Hawks, and they were fucking getting paid, and we weren't.
Yeah.
This is
it's fascinating,
forever.
isn't it?
We were killing them in the ratings, Glenn, killing them.
And I wonder. So my question is, why is the wrestling business being treated like a bunch of Marxists? Like they're basically just saying, here's
because maybe they haven't
known
how to negotiate. You know? And maybe they haven't known how to negotiate. And number two, which I don't think is the case with Tony Khan, because you would think he knows from his dad, or maybe his dad helped him. I just think at the end of the day, they look at basketball as a premium thing where they can get more ad money, and wrestling, as even though they may have more viewers, that maybe they're not as affluent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It just goes to show you what the networks think of the wrestling audience. That's its very.
I'd like to know how much golf gets.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because that's the thing, bro. That's how you put all this shit in perspective. Yeah. Whenever he thinks like, oh my god, whenever here's a number 45 million a year,
right?
Everyone's like, wow, that's the. I'm like looking at it, going like, yeah. My first thing was that's awfully low, compared to WWE. If WWE's getting 465 and you're only getting 45, it's like,
what is the golf term? What is the golf association? LPGA is the women, right? PGA. What's the PGA?
Look it up, Joe. Look up ratings. How much
PGA gets a year for
PGA?
Yeah. Actually, it's PGA Tour just closed a massive new TV rights deal with CBS NBC. So let's see if the final details get ironed out. Blah blah blah. 60% increase over the previous deals. The tour will reportedly receive $700 million per year, up from $400 million, and would run for the next 9 years.
Right, and you can't tell me
people watch golf. Everybody says, "Thank you, Tiger Woods."
Right, but you can't tell
Tiger, bro. They went from $400 million to $700 million because Tiger's back.
Right, but again, like I said, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What are their ratings?
Oh, they're shit.
Right.
They're not. Yeah, they're garbage.
But look how much money they're making, because most people that play golf are more affluent than fucking wrestling fans.
Right. Here's the thing that people don't realize is that like when these people always talk about, when you talk about TV ratings, they're like, oh, there's always so many places to watch. It's like guys, you look at it, you have the wrong conversations here. You need to look at like the other products, your competition in your demographic, which is sports. Like, first of all, what are basically sports broadcasts doing? And really, seriously, the only thing killing it's the NFL. All these other, there's not a lot of people watch these other sports, but look at the model that the sports is, the NFL is set up with. Everything is geared towards Sunday, and we have a Monday night show, a third, but like it's your focus. Like all the other games are spread out different days of the week, all over the place and stuff. So,
and they also don't have as many games too.
Right.